The EU and the UK economies are said to be improving, but what signs should you look for to gauge how much an economy is improving? I'm now joined by Gerard Lyons, Chief Economic Advisor for the Mayor of London. Well, Gerard, what do you look for to gauge the strength of the economy?
There's a whole host of different factors. The quantitative measures are very important. We have economic statistics about the current state of play, but also you need to actually dig a bit deeper and look at the underlying structure of the economy, because we not only want an economy to do well in terms of the near term, the cyclical factors, we very importantly want the economy to be resilient and sound for the future. What this crisis did highlight is the disparities both within cities and across economies. So you have people who are still unemployed, you have people on 0-hour contracts, you have people in part-time work. So it's important that you actually don't just look at those people that are doing well, you actually create an enabling environment, an environment to basically serve the needs of everyone. It's important to take, in my view, a top-down approach to what's happening to the global economy. What we've seen is how interlinked the global economy has become. The emerging economies, China, India, Brazil, maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, they would have been seen as remote for many people here in the West. But now what we've seen, not just because of the crisis, but in terms of what you or I, or indeed everyone buys, the brands and everything, we now very much live in the global economy. And it's interesting to note that despite the financial crisis in the West, the world economy has continued to grow. So the important thing is for us in the West, in the UK and in London, is to continue to position ourselves to succeed in this changing and growing global economy.
Looking to the improving EU and UK economy now, and have you seen other economic policies or stimulus that countries have implemented that could also be applied here to aid recovery?
Whichever economy one looks at, the outcome depends on the interaction between the fundamentals, policy and confidence. And when one looks at the UK, the fundamentals did really take a big hit as a result of the crisis. But the economic fundamentals appear to be improving. The policy environment has been very much geared to initially addressing the crisis, but that's in the last 12 months or so focused more on ensuring recovery gathers momentum. And monetary policy in some respects has acted as the shock absorber, interest rates remaining low, liquidity being added, and the fiscal situation is starting to be brought under control. And as a result, if thinking about fundamentals, policy, and the last thing, confidence, because of that on the fundamentals and the policy side, confidence now finally starting to really improve here in the United Kingdom. It's initially consumer confidence. As demand picks up, it's now feeding into business confidence as well. Banks are also lending a lot more, particularly in terms of the southeast of England, but also in terms of clusters across the country as well.
How do you see the future of the UK as a financial capital?
There was a very interesting report that came out from Deloitte earlier this year, talking about international cities and looking at the type of high-skilled jobs that you need. And what was staggering was how London really was well ahead of the competition. According to that survey, 1.5 million high-skilled jobs are here in London. The next closest city was New York at 1.2 million. Then it was Los Angeles, I think just under 800,000. Then Hong Kong, about 650,000. So what we have here in London is high-skilled jobs, not just in the banking sector. Even though we had a financial crisis, the reality is that when you look outside of the banking sector here in London, the business, professional, legal, consultancy services all did pretty well.
Well, finally, you recently suggested during an event at the Patterson Institute of International Economics that you foresee a huge upturn in economic prosperity. Where is the stimulus coming from?
There is already an upturn in prosperity, but the prosperity has been sort of seen in terms of the last few years very much across the emerging world. The Western economies were hit hard by the financial crisis. But the important thing about globalization and the fact that more people across the world are being brought into the global economy is that the net result is that the world economy gets bigger. But in moving from where we are now to where the world economy will be in the future, there are some winners and there are some losers. So the important thing is for economies and different sectors in the West to adapt and change. So when you look at the world economy, there are certain industries, certain creative industries, sporting industries, financial sectors that might appear to be better positioned. So it's very important to bear in mind that in terms of looking at the winners and losers, economies in the West not only play to their strengths, but try to actually make sure that their people have the right skill sets to be able to adapt. The challenge is that many people don't like change. So what we have to bear in mind is that we have to embrace change, but in embracing change, we don't only play to our strengths, but we actually create the skill sets that allow economies to be able to cope not only with shocks, but seize the opportunities as well.
Gerard, thank you.
Pleasure.